Thea got a date and a couple secrets of her own. Simone is struggling of if she tells her friends about baby Shay. And Damon, who seemingly settled in beautifully to Brixton, is now questioning everything. What's good, y'all? It's your good sis Erica Vane coming to you right here on Erica Vane TV with another All-American Homecoming video. In this video, I am breaking down episode 5 from season 1. Additional excellence in the series run of All-American Homecoming. Homecoming is that girl. She is giving. The story last night took it up a notch, diving deep into the secrets of most of our main characters, and we actually really love to see it. If you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you don't miss out on any of my All-American content, specifically All-American Homecoming, because I am obsessed, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown. So the episode opens with new tennis pals, Thea and Simone, going back and forth, and Thea reveals that her grandmother has set her up on this date and she don't know what to do, so now Simone has to help get her ready. From there, we get to see Simone and Auntie Amara talking, and Simone trying to figure out if she wants to be open and honest with her friends about baby Shay. And I love this dialogue and her taking time to consider this. This is like really a huge thing as Simone is steadily cultivating her friends, and you know, they're becoming family for her at this university. This is a big part of her and a big thing to reveal, a thing that she is going to be very vulnerable with, and she really cares about what their perceptions are going to be and if there's going to be any judgment. It already is a very interesting space to navigate, specifically with Damon being adopted and going from not wanting to, you know, figure out who his biological parents are, and then now wanting to, and then him having this visceral disposition and reaction at the start of this episode. He actually says to Simone, like, what kind of mom gives their child up for adoption? And I'm like, not y'all laying in even more of the tension and the pressure. Over the course of this season thus far, we have seen Simone and Damon make their way to best friendship. They are really tight, like really tight and really supportive. They have been able to navigate and get through all that they're getting through because they have each other. They do a beautiful job in this episode of visually showing what the weight and tension looks like for Simone and keeping the secret about baby Shay, but then still wanting to be very open and honest with Damon because he's been very open and honest with her. And aside from what's going on with Simone and Damon and everybody up in the dorms, because the lights go out in this episode and that's when the secret starts to fall out the closet, also Auntie Amara and Coach Marcus Turner in this episode bring their attention to a head, and she finally gets some answers as to why he randomly broke up with her, why all of the distance, basically everything that she wanted to know, she's able to ultimately get out of him. But it takes a while. It takes the lights going out. It takes them being trapped together. It takes her giving him attitude and the cold shoulder for most of the episode, up until he reveals that her sister literally pressured him and communicated to him that he would never be good enough for her. He slipped up at one point in the minors and took what I believe is steroids and felt terrible about it. And then from there created this narrative for himself that he wasn't good enough. So he believed the sister, he believed himself. He, you know, was basically dismissed or removed from the opportunity within the minors, and they covered it up by saying that he was injured as to not bring any type of negative press around, you know, doping or whatever. And then from there he kind of spiraled and believed the lie and believed that he wasn't good enough, came home, ended things with her, and then kind of just never looked back. And it was so sad to hear, but they both needed to, he needed to say it and she needed to hear it. And then from there, they're able to go ahead and what we think is make up and move forward. But Auntie Amara got other plans because it's not going to be that easy. And I'm hoping that that's all it's going to be, because at the end of the day, for her to be holding this for so long, it feels like she does really want him back. But as I spoke to Naya last night, she was like, well, girl, he has to work for it. And I'm like, okay, if she's just trying to make him work for it, then I'm completely for her, you know, not making it so easy for them to just fall back into where they were. But I was a little bit taken aback when he was trying to move forward after they went ahead and did the deed in this dark, honey. And then she's just like, yeah, that was closure. I'm like, girl, this was not closure. This was opening of at the very least. This was the opening of something. You just enjoyed yourself. You just got all of this, you know, out in the open. You got to really see, you know, what his perspective was and how he was feeling and what he was going through. And while it wasn't okay how he did you, I think you can understand. I think you can empathize. And it's clear that you actually want to be with this boy. So I know we're not about to run to the fetus. Y'all know the fetus from last week, her student who has been trying to run up on her and think that he doing something and his game is wiggity wiggity whack. Yeah, it's an absolute no for us, Auntie Amara. We team Coach Turner over here, boo-boo. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and get it together, mama. So yeah, Auntie Amara and Coach Turner had a little moment in this episode and I absolutely adored it. But back to the kids, okay? Back to the kids. JR is freaking losing his mind in this episode, spiraling from the news of his parents' divorce. And while I understand it, y'all, it is so very true to life. Literally everything that he's doing, it took me back. My dad actually divorced my stepmom and my sister struggled for years because of it. So I saw certain things happen and I'm like seeing it being mirrored back to me by way of JR. But literally as you watch JR throughout this episode, y'all, all you can think is like, really, I'm gonna need you to not. Sir, I'm gonna need you to not. Because he is literally taking his life and basically throwing it away in this episode. He is drinking, he is trying to smoke weed, he quit the baseball team, he is giving Damon flack. Like all of this stuff is happening and it's like, I get it, but you spiraling and trying to ruin your life is not going to actually hurt your parents in the way that they hurt you. So I would much rather you call your parents up, you get in your car, you go drive to your parents' house and cuss their asses out before you decide to destroy your temple, destroy your opportunities. Like, let's go destroy some parents' property or something. Like, we can get this anger out in some non-productive ways if that's what we want to do, but like, let's do it so that it affects the people who are affecting you and not just has you spiraling within yourself. By the end of the episode, JR and Damon get into it because Simone, as she's revealing all of the secrets, child, she reveals the secret about baby Shay to her friends, but Damon wasn't there at the time, and then he overhears and then she has to try to explain. He runs off. They eventually make up. So I'm going to go back to that, but I want to just speak about JR right now and then come back. In her reveal of everything and trying to come completely clean, she tells Damon about how her and JR think that he is JR's brother, and then this sends Damon reeling. And then now they have like this contentious moment at the end of the episode that leaves JR in tears by the end. And I'm just like, oh my God, these boys. JR is still very much so fighting feelings of like everything always being about Damon. So also in the dialogue that Damon has, he's just like, well, did your parents getting divorced because of me? And then that triggers JR of like, no, it's not about you. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm gonna need y'all to have this conversation when one, JR is sober, and two, when Damon is calm, because right now is the worst time to have it. Y'all, last night's episode was low-key intense, but still dope nonetheless. Like, there was so many moments of like, I was just sitting there, mouth open, not breathing, because I'm like, what is about to happen? I just knew at one point Damon was going to try to kiss Simone. I just knew at one point Damon was going to swing on JR. And I'm just like, all of these things are happening. Help me, Lord, but then don't help me, because I'm absolutely enjoying this episode. But before I go back to Damon and Simone, because we're going to talk about them, let's go to Camille real quick, because Camille are a pleasant surprise. Camille are giving everything. Camille is giving all types of perfect energy align, timing up for you, I got your number, we supposed to be together energy, and I'm totally here for it. They are another ship that I am now shipping 100%. They are spicy, they are confrontational, they check each other on their BS, they support each other in their talents and in their spirits and in their goals, and it's literally what we would love to see for everybody. Like, Cam is not taking no mess. In this episode, Keisha is choreographing a dance for a potential competition, but then the levels up because Normani comes on as a celebrity guest judge, and then she tries to drop out because she feels like she's not ready and the choreography isn't good enough. And Cam is like, nah, we ain't doing that. You is good enough. I saw what you could do. And guess what? I got this little video shoot ready for you. I got the lights. I got the this. I got the perk. I got the music. I'm finna sing. Like, not Mitchell out here singing, showing us that he's an entertainer all around. Y'all, that Cam and Keisha scene with her dancing and him singing, I was like, oh, not All American Homecoming coming out the woodworks with all types of talents and goodness. I was completely shocked, but utterly entertained. Last night's episode was so great. Yeah, so Cam and Keisha, y'all better get it together. By the end of the episode, we got a little interesting moment where Keisha's like, oh, I'm too tired to go out. And Cam is clearly wanting to go to dinner with her and want to make him his girl. And she's kind of pulling back. I definitely think that we're going to see a little bit of push-pull with Keisha and Cam, because they both, you know, they are a little fiery. They are a little feisty. They both say what they want to say. And I also feel like Keisha is recovering from, you know, the boyfriend from before. So she's just out of a relationship. And I feel like Cam is a character who has not been in a real relationship before. So we're going to see them both struggle with how they're falling for each other, but then also don't want to be vulnerable or don't want to be open or don't want to be like in need of a person. And I can't wait to see it. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. I cannot wait to see more of it. Give me more Camisha immediately, okay? Okay, now we can go to Thea, who is trying to prep for her date. Simone is like getting to the nitty gritty in the bottom of what's going on. We find out that Thea hasn't done nothing but tennis her whole damn life, y'all. She has traveled the world and played tennis. She has been to the beach maybe 3 times. She don't have many hobbies, if any hobbies that ain't tennis. She's always thinking about tennis. Like literally her life is tennis, 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 and more tennis. So we got to figure out what else can she talk about or relate to somebody with. Simone is trying to help her out, but then when the JR thing pops up, she wants to go and deal with that. And then she leaves Thea in the care of Damon to try to help her out. Damon somehow, I guess, also recruits Cam. So we get this very, very awkward moment where Thea is sharing certain things about herself and then realizing that she is completely ill-equipped and unprepared for the things that they're talking about, because they decide to take it to like the, do you pay on the first date, or do y'all go Dutch? Do you put out? Do you this? Do you that? And it's just like, y'all, she just want to be able to have a conversation with the boy. Like, we ain't even get there yet, but this was a clear indicator to me that yes, Thea is a virgin, and she was completely overwhelmed by the conversation that was being had. She felt exposed, and I completely understood. When she went to Simone and she was pissed, I understood why, because she was made to feel uncomfortable and unsafe. Not that the boys were trying to make her feel that way, because they all have done it. Like, they be out here, they swinging from the damn chandeliers and doing whatever that they want to do, and been doing whatever they want to do in high school, but not everybody is like that. And I really resonated with Thea in this moment, because by the time I got to college, I was also still a virgin at that time. And it was very weird because I was in college in New Orleans and everybody was doing everything. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't understand. But, you know, Thea's able to be vulnerable and honest and open, call Simone out on that particular thing, and then Simone apologizes, but then is also able to share a very vulnerable thing for her to ultimately bring them closer together and show Thea that she's not alone in certain experiences that she feels like will make her stand out or ostracize her or make her look like she's just different or a little bit more complex or whatever to her classmates. Ultimately, she don't want to be judged, and Simone is a queen of experiencing plenty of people's judgments, especially being a teenage mother. And I'm so glad that she was able to share this. But going back really quick to Thea and Damon, because y'all didn't want to see it when I called it a few episodes ago, but Damon has done his research on all the athletes up at the school, and he knew about Thea and where she had played and all that she had done, because she's basically the female version of him. And I don't know if y'all caught it, but there was a little spark. Okay, there was a little spark there, and I'm totally here for Damon and Thea. Now he gonna have to take it slow because our good sis has no experience, but that could maybe work, you know? That could work. I'm just saying. Before I even get to Damon and Simone, which, you know, are always going to be at the top for the episodes, and we really got to deep dive into what they got going on because they have so much complex, nuanced relationship goodness happening, right? Nate serves looks, has moments with JR, can really relate to JR, and is probably the most grounding force for JR in this episode. She is just everything, from her looks to her vibe to, you know, all that she brings to the group. I cannot wait for the episode where we get more backstory on Nate and we get to learn like what she wants, maybe who she wants to love. I could totally see JR and Nate maybe being a thing in the future. I actually would love to see that. So that's my quick note on Nate, who continues to be that girl in this episode, okay? Now, Damon and Simone, child. Damon and Simone. Damon reacts exactly how I thought he was going to react once he found out that Simone had a baby and gave it up for adoption. However, he does deeply care about her, so he tries to empathize, and he really is more mad in this episode about the fact that JR and Simone have been running around behind his back for weeks trying to figure out who his parents were without telling him than he is about Simone not revealing that she had a baby and gave it up for adoption. I think he pretty much instantly understands and then, recounts some of the things that he said specifically about adoptive parents or people who give their children up for adoption, because he was speaking from a hurt place on his own perspective, and he tries to clarify that for her. Damon is such a freaking intense, affectionate person. And while I love it for Simone, because Black women deserve to just be loved in this way, it's so awkward at times, because while I know that like they are really developing a friendship, and we had this beautiful conversation on live last night specifically about men and women and if they can be friends and platonic friendships and motives X, Y, and Z. I be looking at Damon sometimes as he is interacting with Simone, and it's just like, you love to see it, but you also know that he's interested in her for more, even though he's not crossing the line. So part of me is just like, oh, I wish he just had literally like only friend motives, because it would just make how he handles her, how he touches her, how he looks at her even more impactful if we knew that he didn't want to sleep with her, because then it would feel like super genuine. Not that it doesn't feel genuine, because it does. It's just interesting, like watching him, the moment when they were in her room and talking and like they were like face to face, and it was just, the tension just built so much, and I just looked at the screen at one point and I balled up my fist, y'all. I gotta start recording my live reactions again, because I couldn't believe myself. I caught myself in a moment. I balled up my fist and I was like, you better not kiss her. You better not kiss her. And it really felt like a kiss was about to happen at any given point. And it's because Damon is just so dropped in. And what I mentioned on live last night is that it kind of confuses me, but I like it how affectionate Damon is, because he speaks from a place of like being an adoptive kid, having a mother who's all about business and only focused on making it to the MLB, yada, yada, yada. And for him to come from this particular point of view or circumstance, I'm trying to figure out like, how did he develop this touchy feelingness? How did he develop this dropped into his emotionsness and this natural affinity for affection? Like, where did that come from? And for the most part, he does it with Simone, and we know that he likes her. However, when he's talking with Thea, he also is very soft and caring. He doesn't actually touch her, but he is that way. And he's interesting to me. Like, let me find out I'm starting to like Damon when I decided a long time ago that I was not gonna like his ass. Like, NK, you're doing it again. I don't understand, but you're literally just changing my mind and bringing me on this journey, and I love you for it. Thank you. Anywho, Damon and Simone, by the end of the episode, are not good, because Damon is still pissed. He shuts the door in her face. They have a few moments of exchanges in this episode, whether it's for, him finding out about baby Shay, but then also then learning about the whole JR thing. He actually, before anything comes out, he asks her like straight up, like, what's going on with you and JR? I be seeing y'all whispering X, Y, and Z. I wanted Simone to be like, well, one, I have a man, and two, why are you asking? Because like, let's call the thing a thing. But she didn't. She just clarified without telling him the actual truth, and then ultimately had to turn around and tell him the truth after she revealed about the baby Shay thing. I'm glad that so many things were pulled out of the closet. Damon started this episode off telling Simone that he has sent in an inquiry about his adoption, and by the end of the episode he gets an email saying that there are no records in Georgia of his adoption. So now it's like, well, what happened? He's gonna have to call his mama. He's gonna have to dive deeper, because now the state of Georgia is saying that he has not been adopted, or there's no record of his adoption, but he knows that he's an adopted person and this is not his biological mother. So where are the records? Where was he born? Where was he adopted? Who is his parents? Because this note is basically sending like a big stop sign that he can't go forward, and now he's going to have to try to circumvent and go around and figure out what he can to get additional information as he pursues the identity of his biological parents. All right, y'all, I've been gushing about this episode now for 20 something minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here. If I miss anything, drop it in the comment section down below, because we keep that conversation going in the comment section. I will be replying back to you all. If you're new and you made it all the way to the end, hit that subscribe button and give this video a like for me, so that other people who are deeply interested in All American Homecoming can find my channel and join our conversation as well, and we can keep the channel going. I have my preview for episode 6 of All American Homecoming coming very shortly, so be sure to stay on the lookout for that, and I'll see you in the next one.